Hi, this is Dr. Kametz from the Gohl Clinic of Chiropractic. We help adults and children achieve their potential in life by keeping them off of drugs and out of surgery through specific scientific chiropractic care. Today I want to share with you a case of a 30-year-old female who came into the office with a history of migraines. She was getting 2 to 3 migraines in a month, and they were so debilitating she had to lock herself in a dark room every time they happened. She was taking Zomig for that, 5 milligrams of that. She also came in with neck and low back pain and sciatica. She said these things have started since 14 years of age after a car accident. Now, interesting in the history too, there is a history of menstrual issues. She already had ablation done and she had cyst removals. So I want to explain how these things happen, and to do that we're going to show a before and after x-ray. So I want to go over a global view first and explain exactly what's happening here posturally. First of all, this is the before and this is the after. This was taken on 9/25 and this is taken on 10/24, so just under a month in between. And what we have here is a plumb line that's drawn straight up from L5 just to see how the body is adapting here, okay? In the pre-X-ray, you can very clearly see how hyperlordotic the spine is and also hyperkyphotic. It's very indicative of a sway back posture, and her neck has this complete reversal of the curve here because it's compensating so badly. In this picture here, L1 is 30 millimeters behind that plumb line, T7 is 98 millimeters behind that plumb line, and C2 is 58 millimeters behind that plumb line, along with this complete reversal of the curve. Let me show you what happened on the post X-ray here. Once again, plumb line drawn straight up from L5. Notice before, where L1 was actually 30 millimeters behind the plumb line, now it's actually 6 millimeters in front of the plumb line. The 98 millimeters behind the plumb line at T7, it is now actually only 61 millimeters behind that. And in the cervical spine, C2, where before it was 58 millimeters behind that plumb line, is now only behind that 18 millimeters. I want to show you a little bit more intersegmentally so you can see exactly how these changes happen, because we only adjusted very few vertebrae on here. What we look for in the spine is a condition where the vertebrae shifts backwards. When that happens, what it does is it damages that disc and that inflammation starts to pinch off that nerve. That's what we're looking for on the lateral view of the X-ray. What we're looking for is this hole closing down here. This is where the nerve comes out. Here's the back of the sacrum, and that's the back of the fifth lumbar. That vertebrae has moved backwards by 3 millimeters, and it's starting to pinch off that nerve. Now, there's only 5 millimeters of disc space between the fifth lumbar and the sacrum, and it also has a 21-degree wedge, which is very, very significant. L5 is one of the vertebrae that we corrected on here. I want to show you what happened on that post-X-ray. What happened on that post-X-ray is we set that fifth lumbar forward, and it went from 3 millimeters posterior to the sacrum to now only 2 millimeters, so it's opening up that nerve hole there. It also, the disc space increased by 2 millimeters to 7 millimeters, and it actually decreased that wedge there. So this fifth lumbar now moved back to 2 millimeters posterior compared to that sacrum, and it actually opened up the disc space there. Before that was 5 millimeters, now it's 7 millimeters of disc space there, with only a 17-degree wedge. So that's coming more towards normal. As we move up the spine, you can clearly see here of the effect just by adjusting that one segment that L1 has actually come into a much more normal position for her. In the thoracic spine, you can see how her body, T7, is 98 millimeters behind that plumb line. Here, it's actually only 61 millimeters. But the big change for her was up in the cervical region. Her problem was C7, and what that had done is, since that had subluxated, the vertebrae above it had to compensate by shifting forward and creating this complete reversal of the cervical spine. Not only that, it had been in there so long that it started to develop these jagged edges, which is arthritis and bone spurring. So I want to show you what happened, how her spine adjusted after starting to set that C7. This is the post-X-ray. Once we started getting the pressure off of that nerve at C7, you can see how her spine started to adjust. Her cervical curve started to come back into normal position. So here's the symptomatic changes at this point, about a month later. She said she felt she was standing straighter. She said she still had back pain, but it was better. She said her headaches were not as bad, and she said she had no migraines. So it was a significant change in her life at that point. Now, one thing I also want to note on this, she had already had an endometrial ablation surgery, and what that is when there is damage to the L5 nerve, those nerves innervate the ovaries, and if the ovaries can't make the right amount of estrogen, it's going to thicken up that lining. So every month your menstrual cycles are going to be much, much worse. Well, she already had a radical surgery done, and they actually burned off that endometrial lining so she wouldn't have to deal with that bleeding anymore. Well, the problem was coming from L5 there, and when that was functioning normally, she wouldn't have those bleeding conditions there. So very, very significant changes in her life. For more information, you can always visit our website at gohlclinic.com. Also, you can find us on Facebook, or you can subscribe to our YouTube location below. Thank you.